laugh at this next part.
In a world of political correctness and cancel culture, two comedians have risen up to prove that with the right angle, anything can be funny. This is You Can't Laugh at That.
Who writes these? We should have this person locked up and looked at.
Live from Golden Ox Studios in Cleveland, Ohio, it's Steve Mers and David Horning. On this week's episode,
the sign of intelligence is like being able to like hold and consider a belief that you don't have. And oh boy, yeah, that's something like that. But like basically like that is what being intelligent is like being able to like consider something that even though you don't believe it, like you could see why someone would think that.
You have to have a level of understanding about the way other people think because people live in different circumstances. I know this is I could unpack that and I don't want to, honestly. It's just so much talking and then it just turns into,
Yeah, who are we, Joe Rogan?
You are listening to You Can't Laugh at That, the podcast where we take topics you can't laugh at and we find ways to laugh at them in our never-ending quest to prove that anything can be funny. With me, as always, is our interstellar co-host, Steve Mers. Steve, how's it going up there?
I'm doing well.
How's the air up there?
That's not funny. No, I meant like as in don't disparage my height, but then I remembered I'm in space. So yeah, it's depleting.
Steve, do you ever go by Steve Mars? Come on. That's why I'm on the pod.
Thanks, third grade. Because that's what I remember that as. That was what I got in third grade, and it made me so like angry. No, I'm not angry anymore about it. I don't care, but it's just.
I sense a little disdain in your.
Once again, I forgot I was in space, and I'm like, I thought it was just the name variation, but really, I should be Mars. Yeah, you're right. So
yeah, a lot of comedy has to do with self-awareness, Steve. I thought you would know that by now.
Well, I'm not really in space, David.
And that's my lack of awareness. So, my lack of awareness. Joining us on this episode is Zach Wycuff. He is a comedian based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Zach has performed in at least one comedy festival that I know of. You want to introduce us to who you are as a human being?
Oh, so you're going to make me give my own credits. Dope.
Talk about yourself.
Yeah, I've done a couple of festivals. Cleveland, Louisville, a couple in Indianapolis. This is the worst credit because it's so insane. But there's this thing called Funniest Person in Cincinnati, a local contest in Cincinnati that I've won 2 times. And it does not mean anything is what I've learned.
Well, you get a lifetime supply of Skyline chili.
Oh, man. If I did. I would just have him spoon it right into my mouth. The king of Cincinnati comedy. Just hand it to you on chili fries. Oh God. No.
I'm still baffled as to how that's considered chili and not bolognese. It's like spaghetti with bolognese.
I don't know, man. I'm a Cincinnati transplant and I've never gotten it. But I've lived here long enough where like if it's been a month or two, I'm like, my body needs this runny meat with chocolate and cinnamon in it. Like I need it injected into me. I don't know what it is. There's something about being here. I think there's deficiencies in the water. I don't know.
I remember correctly, it's a Greek immigrant food.
The way you said that almost sounded disdainful. Greek immigrant food.
Yeah, I know, right? It sounds so like derogatory. But it's like, I think it was invented by a Greek immigrant, and it's obviously very like bastardized American food, like a lot of things in America as well. So
that is what we do. Is we take stuff and ruin it.
Yeah.
As a fan of smooth jazz, let me tell you.
Radioactive cheese. It's like it glows in a very unnatural way.
Isn't that color?
I know, it's suspiciously orange.
You can't laugh at that.
Hey, random thought. I loved that sketch you were in that you did. What was it? It was a commercial for Pepsi with like with chewing tobacco, like spit in it.
Yes. Yeah. That was my. Thanks, man. That was my buddy David Chumasuro. He's if you see any picture of me with a black guy, that's him. But we both work together for a church. Boo! I know. But we do this thing every year called Super Bowl of Preaching, which is a terrible name. It's so dumb. But what they do is that every year they have like halftime commercials where we just like do actual parody commercials, and they let us do that one. We've written a couple other ones, but that by far was like one of the most fun ones. It
looked very like the production value was great, and it was very funny all on one. So I was like, wow, I was wowed, because that's what I do for a living is I film stuff, and I want to do a lot of comedy sketches and things like that. Way. So I was like, wow, yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, shouts out to the tithers. Thanks for letting us get some nice cameras or whatever. Appreciate it.
Laughing.
Well, I said I work at a church, so I'm trying to make sure you guys know I'm smart.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and that's why we brought you on. You're funny, you're smart, you work at a church. We're missing out on that third demographic. Most of the comics we've had on do not work at a church, and so we're filling that blank in right now.
Yeah,
right.
I'm excited to bring in the boomer demographic to this podcast.
Yeah, or even you might be the only comic we've had on that actually goes to church, which might be
all right.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
That's a missing demographic, and that's kind of the reason that I wanted to reach or have you on the show to begin with. First of all, I mean, you are very funny.
Thanks, buddy. Right back at you.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure. Thanks, I've seen you at the Cleveland Comedy Festival. I mean, you had a real tight 7, and your stuff on being Christian is very funny. It's late night set worthy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Your delivery. I've watched your Wiley's video that we're about the clip that we're about to show a few times. And what we're gonna do this one a little bit differently. Normally we'll play the whole clip and then talk about it as a whole. But I think yours, the way you put together the bit, and like there's clear like bits in the chunk. I guess I should say the chunk rather than the bit. That and the way you thread them together and bring it together to a close. Like I'm going to talk about, like, I'm going to geek out about it and then kind of dive into your brain.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, I'll say the same thing Johnny Cash says, if I could write it any better, I would.
I feel like too many comics start off, they write a joke and they're like, well, this is the best this joke's going to get.
I've never felt that way about anything I've written. No, I will forever edit and never stop. And it's almost a flaw, but it's a good problem to have. Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, Jeremy, take us away on the first part of this clip.
You better be ready.
And don't have it muted.
Now.
I'll tell you a little bit about me. I'm a big fan of the Lord. Anybody? All right, cool. One guy I'll see in heaven. That'll be cool. Sweet. Everybody else, don't worry. There's still time. Guys, I did grow up in a super churchy home. This is true. My parents were in a small Southern gospel group known as the Heaven Bound Singers, which I always thought was kind of a cocky name. You guys don't get to make that call. It was just a bunch of like old white people singing like country songs about Jesus. It's like if Cracker Barrel had a house band, Until I was 12, I had never heard what you might call like secular music. And how do you guys know what secular means? It just means like good. It's fun.
You can't laugh at that.
I love that the next. Thanks, man. I love that the next suggested video is Bill Burr talking about white women, and that's my next. It's my next type 5. Listen up, whiteys. Oh man, I had to. That was really fun because I had to pretend to feel uncomfortable watching that, like I haven't watched it a million times by myself, just alone in my room.
Wow, that's my first time watching it.
Oh, this is so embarrassing watching me crush.
I wish they didn't laugh for so long.
It's like they're laughing at me. Well, yeah. It's like...
Oh, boy.
I mean, so that's the very first joke what do you, I forget, because that's about 16 seconds in. So you go up, you basically introduce yourself, and then you right in.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to dive right in. I watched another clip of you, and you mentioned, you say, I am a big fan of the Lord, like all the other comics before me, which I assumed there were a bunch of them like ripping on religion.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, man, that's so I've been using that little thing for such a long time because I have not figured out another way to like introduce that I am a Christian person. And it's like such an uncomfortable thing to talk about, like that I like I have to like find some way to explain to people, like, I get there's baggage with that. I'm one of the good ones.
I was going to say, you seem to have somewhat of a persecution complex, not in a bad way, just like, because I totally understand why.
Well, I am a white man, so.
Right. It makes sense on a level, but I was, like you just said, honestly, you're a good Christian. Like, I can tell, at least from, what I see on social media and things like that. I'm like, oh, I like this guy. It's not like you said, with the baggage and stuff. So you're leading a good example. So,
thanks.
So man. I have no problem with people like that. Like, that's great. That's awesome. So,
yeah, maybe it's me just projecting my past with the church and everything onto everyone else. That's probably what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's all that good comedy is a hindsight perspective on things that I've been through, on my own experiences. Almost being able to step out of the scene, like you're an audience member to your own life, and like you're communicating that. Because I mean, if you think of it, like if you were to watch Seinfeld, for example, I don't know what made me think of that, but
video people will know. Yeah. What's up, OnlyFan?
He's wearing a Seinfeld shirt for those of you who aren't part of our Patreon. So that gives you, it's patreon.com/you can't laugh pod. There it is. Yeah.
You can want to get you guys that extra cheddar.
Thank you for sure. Which isn't the kind of cheese that's on Cincinnati chili.
Hey, all right.
Boom. It's poser cheddar. Anyway.
Chernobyl.
So in Seinfeld, the characters in the show aren't aware that they're part of a comedy. So everything to them is serious, whereas the audience is laughing at how seriously they take themselves. And I think that's what, you do that really well going into this bit, which, you have that outsider and insider perspective of this thing that is normally looked at in comedy from the totally opposite angle.
Yeah.
You're like uplifting. Huh. But you're also like pointing out the incongruities, so to speak.
That's a really good insight. Wow. Thank you for breaking that down for me. I was just like, boy, I got to bring this up somehow because later I'm going to talk about how I'm a virgin, and that's going to confuse some folks.
Right.
Again, video people will know I'm like hot or whatever. So like I could, I could if I wanted. But I gotta,
Do you make that a bit? Is that like a bit already?
Kinda. I talk about it a lot.
That would be really funny. That would be really funny.
Like could if I wanted.
That's hilarious.
Now, unlike all of you heathens, I have self-control.
I'm sure you touch on. I don't know if you touch on this in your material, but I'm sure that like you're like a comic. You're not like you're a Christian comic, but you're not like a Christian comic.
Ooh.
Like do you like?
You just gave me such joy hearing that.
Yeah, good. I'm hoping. Yeah, I don't want this to be like because I feel like some people lean into it too much, not in the sense that they talk about their faith or whatever, but it's rather just they're too squeaky clean and it's corny. And it's like you manage to be witty and not necessarily. You don't like give into like the hedonism of really edgy comedy either. You know what I mean? Like you have the talent, but you're not like, oh, this guy's corny. You know what I mean?
Oh,
so like
thanks, man.
Yeah, exactly. So
I appreciate that. Yeah. Cause I went into this thinking like, dude, I don't know. I grew up watching like Thou Shalt Laugh or whatever. Like, have you guys ever heard of that?
No.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. It's the worst. It's the worst.
I feel like if Jesus did an open mic, told a joke, and nobody laughed, he would
rule number 1, do not command people to laugh. Don't force it.
That's so funny.
What was that like?
Yeah. So it's like this DVD collection of all Christian comedians, and it's all. It just felt to me so. It just for people in the bubble. You know what I mean? Like we get all our own little inside jokes, and like everybody here gets it. And if you don't get it, well, have fun in hell. Like that's seriously, that's what it feels like, man. So going into this, I always wanted to be, a comedian who is a Christian and not a Christian comedian. So you saying that made me feel real nice.
Yeah,
so
and it just proves to people that it's totally possible. You can just be a good comedian and be a Christian all at the same time, and then wrap your faith into it any way you want, but not be like disingenuous or corny or whatever else you might. I don't want to like completely trash. I used to trash Christian comics a lot when I was younger, but then I've gotten some more wisdom, and I'm like, just let them be who they are. But at the same time, I can still kind of judge their their disingenuous nature of it, not necessarily the whole thing of, because everybody's comes from a certain environment, and that's just what it is, So it's like,
right.
I
feel that.
Mm-hmm.
A good comic doesn't preach. Like a good comic doesn't tell you what to think. A good comic like makes you think that without you realizing.
Oh, dang. Because I could preach. I could do that.
Yeah. and I think what you do in this bit, just from an outsider's perspective, is that, you open up, you'd say, see you, like, I'll see you in heaven. And then to everyone else, there's still time. Like, that's kind of a fun, it communicates that this is going to be fun. I'm not going to preach to you.
Right.
Which, ironically enough, it's more the atheist comics that do the preaching,
Right.
I mean, I find a lot more atheists will preach versus people who are Christian.
Well,
or even just politics.
Yeah,
politics. Oh yeah, golly,
I'm not sure to listen to that.
Yeah.
I can talk a lot about politics, but the thing is, I don't preach about it. I just make sure what I say is brief and as funny as possible. It's not about trying to change people's minds.
Yeah. I feel that. I mean, man, I can't talk about politics because one of my lowest capabilities is having an opinion. And 2, I don't know, I just want everyone to like me or whatever. So it's very genuinely hard to talk about stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It definitely can divide a room, or you just omit. It can keep you from working a whole area, right. You know what I mean? So it's yeah.
And that's never the comedy I liked either, honestly. I was never a Bill Hicks guy or whatever. I don't know, Mike Birbiglia, John Mulaney. Ironically enough, I love Dave Chappelle, but I mean, that's not, I don't know. I can't do that. I love him, but I can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Respect it.
Right.
As opinionated as I might get, I just make sure that what I say is funny and brief, and I move on. And I try not to be too preachy with people. I'm always just here, look, this is a funny joke. Yes, it is opinionated on one end of the spectrum of what my opinion is on it, but I'm not here to I just want you to laugh. Come on.
Yeah. Love me. That's me. That's again me projecting.
Thou shalt love me.
Maybe I should talk about thou shalt laugh.
Thou shalt laugh. Thou shalt love me.
So dumb.
And then you go on to talking about your upbringing. Your parents were part of a Christian music group.
Yes.
Called the Heaven Bound Singers.
Mm-hmm.
And, which, your next line, you guys don't get to make that call. I think that is, you're taking a criticism that a lot of people have of Christians, just like deciding who gets to go to heaven when, like, a big part of Christianity is only God can judge. And it's like, you're not even listening to yourself, guys. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of.
I would never tell my parents that, but yes.
Right. It's so easy to judge. I mean, even like not even on a religious level, just, you know, on a behavioral level, you look at people and you see them do something or say something or behave a certain way, and your instant reaction is to judge them based off of our like own beliefs, which I think is a flawed way of thinking. It's very limiting.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Jesus hung out with a bunch of prostitutes.
Yeah.
And tax collectors.
Yeah.
I mean, not
I didn't
like,
expect you to say that.
I know, right? And tax collectors. Listen here, the IRS. A bunch.
Yeah.
No. Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. Tax is cool. I'm not trying to get canceled by the government.
So going back to
Yes.
you know, your upbringing.
Yeah.
How did you funnel that into comedy? Like, how did you go from being the child of Christian musicians to comedian? Yeah.
So I don't know. I always loved comedy. Like there's a picture of me in the back of our little our traveling bus when I'm like 7 years old and I have a bowl cut and I'm reading like the Sunday funnies, you know? And there were times where like we would come back from, do you guys know revival? Does that mean anything to you, that word? It's something
Creedence Clearwater.
Is it like a
yes. It's like that, but worse music. You do church every day of the week and you are not revived at the end. It's the worst. So we would be in church sometimes, literally every night of the week. So we would come back on Saturday nights and I couldn't watch like a lot of stuff growing up. Like I couldn't watch like The Simpsons or like Pee-wee's Playhouse. I think that was more of like a him jacking it thing than a content issue. But every night when we got back, we would get home on Saturday nights and we'd watch SNL, which was crazy. Like, right? Like
you weren't allowed to watch Pee-wee and
that's funny.
It doesn't make sense. But we would always watch SNL. Maybe we were just too tired to turn it or whatever. It was the only interesting thing on. I don't know. But I loved it. We would always watch like the late night shows. Like we were a Leno household, and I only learned later that he was like not good. I was like, this is the height of comedy. You know,
yeah.
Everybody should have big chins.
Yeah,
that's where all the comedy's stored.
In Jay's garage. You're right.
The hangar.
It's definitely not on TV. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah. My parents, the same thing. Leno household. Like my mom now, she'll be like, I just wish the late night hosts were as funny as Jay Leno was.
He's all right, but you know,
he's fine. That was a good impression.
Yeah, that's how you evaluate his comedy, by doing an impression of him. That's how you evaluate it. What do you think of Jay Leno? Meh.
And Kevin Eubanks is in the corner like, all right. All right. So I always loved comedy. I thought like, I don't know, up until for real, like college, like I thought you had to like go to some like magic, like Harry Potter university to do it. Like I didn't like New York or LA. I thought you just had to do that. So I got to college and there was a mentor guy that I hung out with. He was a little bit older and he told me about how he did improv. And I was like, wait, you can just like do that? He was like, yeah. So I just Googled Cincinnati open mic and I found the one at Go Bananas and did that March 11th, 2015. And I've been hooked on the sweet, sweet drug of people's approval ever since.
That's called serotonin. And
that's great.
It is a sweet, sweet drug. I'm addicted to it.
It's nature's drug because it's like the fruit versus candy thing where you're just in your brain already. It's not like you're getting it off some guy on the street. you know,
Right.
Yeah.
unless you're stealing jokes from them or something.
And even then, like if you can steal jokes, you're not like, you almost feel, God, when I first started, I did one joke that was somebody else's joke and I felt like a piece of shit afterwards. It was like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. Cause it got laughs and it just made me feel like less of a person. So there's no serotonin there. That's cortisol. That's stress. That's not.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Steve, it's nature's candy. It's instead of going.
I never said that.
I heard it differently. Let me get someone on stage and get some of this nature's candy.
I didn't say something that dumb. Come on. Erase that, Jeremy.
Me, yeah. But no, it's the difference of chasing after a high and creating it yourself. Like, so I enjoyed some cocaine for a little bit of my life because I was like chasing a certain high, but then I got on stage and as corny as this sounds, like I found it and I was like, oh, that's it. And that's when I stopped doing cocaine. So that's
Sorry, I just thought it was funny that you said enjoyed. Like, yeah, I like to sit back, relax in a bubble bath.
Relax in a bathroom stall for, comfort. But
It's Joe-cane.
Oh, boy.
You crossed the line.
I think there's something about being in a church for hours and hours and hours that, like, you see what a good show is like you see what it makes a performance work and not work, and you see what makes like energy in a room work and not work. And I think there's something to that, like the empathy of just like how things are supposed to run and how like being in a room and you're like, oh, it was weird when he just led with the hell thing. You're not going to like build up to it. Like, I don't know. I think there's something to that. This is something I think about a lot. Like if God made everything, like that means he made art, he made comedy, he made stuff for us to appreciate. But so much of like the stuff I was seeing, like Christian comedy, was just not good. It just wasn't fun. So I don't know. I feel like if God made everything, like why wouldn't we want to make stuff that is also good, that is like honoring? Does that make sense?
yeah.
That's probably a little too deep, but that's where we're at, maybe.
No, it's good. That's why we're here. That's actually the crux of this whole thing, probably, is you saying that.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Like, it's meant to be like, we're kind of the instrument, going by what you're saying. So why not make it the best we can?
Exactly. It'd
be like saying, well, God didn't invent medicine, so we're not, we shouldn't use medicine and we should let him heal us. It's like,
here's some tree bark. No.
Yeah.
So what you should hear from this is vaccinate your children.
Just clarify.
That's cool with it. I promise.
Too soon.
Let's rock out the next part of the bit. So part 2.
I will say I'm Christian, but I'm kind of a bad boy. I'll drink a beer. Just like one. I still want to be able to like pray for Hadley. Whatever. Just one, guys. I'm not trying to raise hell. I'm just trying to lower heaven. It's crazy. My parents aren't about this at all. Dave and Linda won't even order like a margarita pizza. Like they're not. Which is crazy because that was literally Jesus' first miracle. John 2, if you're going to pull out your Bibles. John 2. They ran out of wine at this wedding and they came to Jesus. That was the first time anyone was ever like, Jesus, take the wheel. And he was like, oh, okay. He went on a beer run. Christian people be the first to have like a dry wedding too. One of my buddies told me that. He was like, yeah, man, I think I'm gonna have a dry wedding. I wanted to tell him, hey, man, what would Jesus do? Probably not making people do the Cupid shuffle sober, I think. Fun fact, some people don't know this, but in modern translations, Jesus actually took that water and he turned it into White Claws. So... I got doing that joke one time, and someone from off stage shouted, yeah, I heard Jesus got hammered, and I had to tell him, no, that happened later in the story. Oh, man. It's cool, guys. He came back at the end. I don't know if you're ready. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's solid. Holy shit.
Thanks, buddy. I feel like I've heard so many jokes about the Jesus turned water into wine thing. But
that's
you
good.
know, we're out here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like if you have a premise and it's like that might seem hack, but when you take it in your own unique direction, it's not hack anymore. So that's my opinion on that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do
The hammered thing. Oh man. I haven't heard that one. I mean, people will do the nail jokes, but it's like that was a tasteful one and it was like unique and no one did the hammered. I've never heard that. So.
Oh, heck yeah. Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
That is a real thing. Someone did shout that at me and that was just like a in the moment riff I had. And I'm like, well, I'm keeping that forever.
Yep.
Really?
It was an otherwise like just okay set. And then that like crushed and then nothing lived up to it the rest of the time. So I was like, well, I guess this goes in the act now.
And Lowering Heaven, never heard that. That's really funny. That's really good.
I have a friend that I love and respect, and he loves and respects me very much, comedian. And every time he hears that, he just flicks me off from the back of the room.
It's one of those things where it might see, if you don't sell it well enough, it might seem like, but it's like, it's a good joke because you just have to like have the right, like I do a lot of jokes like that where people will either groan or give you an applause break. So it's like, you got to sell it the right way so you don't get that groan, you know? So
groan or applause break. That's where I live, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
That's
there
true.
Is nothing in between.
It's a great transition into the bit, first of all. Like, I am a bad boy. And have a beer, like one beer. So, I mean, that's funny in itself. And then you punch down on Catholics, which is great. Because
I don't have anything against Catholics. I mean, they're wrong or whatever, but other than that, like, I don't. I grew up like normal. I don't know, like vanilla Christian. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I grew up in it. It feels like, I don't know. We were like white Baptists, if that makes any sense. So
you're not a spooky Christian.
Right.
I don't know how to describe that, but
no, that's the thing. Like people like, that, I don't know, play with snakes and like, speak in tongues or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. There's that. Yeah. Pentecostal. My grandpa's Pentecostal. So.
Okay. Yeah. Great people. Great potlucks. Been to so many Pentecostal potlucks. They know what they're doing. You know, say what you will about the Christian people. They know how to bring a covered dish, you know?
That needs to be, thou shalt bring only
everything's a command. Everything's a command from the guy that's just the mousiest. Like, what can I do to make you like me? Yeah.
This is mother's casserole. I mean, it's not like punching down on Catholics, but it's a very real stereotype that Catholics drink. And it's true. It's true. I grew up Catholic and I went to Catholic schools all the way through, and everyone is still an alcoholic. So got to overcome that. Yeah. Got to overcome that whole thing. I mean, I remember like religion classes, like, you know, if you're not Catholic, then chances are you're going to have a harder time getting into heaven. And it's like, well, what if you're just a good person? No. You have to do what we say, you know? And it's like, that was my moment where I was like, should I believe everything they tell me? Because I know a lot of good people and I'd be pissed if I didn't see them in heaven.
Yeah.
So let's all go get drunk about it.
Theologically, they got a point, but continue.
Yeah. No. So, but it got a good reaction. So, I mean, obviously, like, when did that joke come into play, and how?
Yeah. My parents are very not like, that is a true thing. Like, they really do not like alcohol. As the years have gone on, and I think partly because of this joke, they're like more cool with it. Like I remember we went on vacation to Vegas a year ago, which like that's a whole other thing, by the way, hanging out with Christian people in Vegas. There's just
In Sin City?
right. Like, I don't know what we thought we were going to convert them. Like, I don't know. I don't know. We're going to make this the Sun City. You know what I mean?
The belly of the beast.
Exactly. We were going to do some Nineveh stuff up in there. Just turn. Yeah, no, we're not like that. But there was one restaurant we went to where there was like house wine that they just served with your meal. It just came with the meal. And I remember when my parents were like, I guess we could try that. Me and my sister looked at each other like, oh, what? What just happened? Dave and Linda are parents?
We're not even Catholic.
I know. It's insane. So I don't know. I think I just growing up and kind of coming away from the faith and coming back to it and kind of making it my own. I don't think there is anything in the Bible against drinking alcohol. I do think there is stuff in there about like being like a drunk idiot. So, and you know, obviously sometimes you gotta find your limits to figure out what that is. But I think there is a healthy way to do it. So the bit kind of came out of like the frustration of, not even really with my parents, but more with like, just like the very Christian people around me. And I realized I'm just kind of using my parents as like a, almost like a straw man, you know what I mean? Like for just like the bastion of, things that are annoying about Christian culture. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'm just like, well, my mom, but really it's just like other annoying Christians. You know, so when I wrote that bit, I remember I was like sitting in a coffee shop where lots of Christian people hang out. And I was just like sitting around like, I bet these people aren't cool. I bet they don't drink beers. So just me, weirdly, me being judgmental is where that bit came from. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to a Christian church as a kid, they did the Eucharist. They did the bread, but they didn't do the wine, and that confused me so much. And now it really should be the other way around, because like the legal drinking age is 21, unless you're at a Catholic church, then it's 8. And
is that right?
Yeah, that brings things together for me.
What?
I mean, you can like at your first communion, you can go and like drink the wine.
Dang. All right.
Which, maybe. I mean, it's obviously a lower alcohol percentage, but still, you know, technically they're breaking the law. You're giving alcohol to minors. I don't know. I don't know if there's like a statute or something.
Yeah.
But
that's wild. Okay. Yeah. We grew up Baptist, so our pastor would never drink and like would talk about not doing it. But he also had in the back of his jeans like a ring from a can of Skull. So I feel like there's something kind of off there, right? Yeah, he was a bad boy. Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's a, you know, I won't just have one, but like it's fun to joke about. Right. You know, I think so. There's a reason I put that up top, because I think like all that stuff is just making fun of myself, and I feel like it is such a, you know, huge part of my life. Like it's gonna come up in other jokes that I have. So I want to like introduce the idea that like, yes, I'm a Christian, and 2, like we're gonna have fun. You know what I mean? Like I'm not here to be like, and listen, the gays or whatever. I'm not not what I'm trying to do. So there's a reason that usually goes up front. So right. I want to be able to start another way, but that's, you know, we're grinding. We're out here trying to do stuff.
Well, and that's an awareness as a comic too, because when you say, you know, you're Christian, that plants an expectation in the audience,
right?
And subvert that expectation, just like you know, I'm a bad boy. Like there are so many different ways to subvert that expectation.
So hopefully I can find some more.
Yeah, right. The margarita pizza line is great. Just that little pause.
Yeah.
Margarita and pizza. It's like kind of a dumb joke, but it's a good joke.
It's like,
I like dumb jokes.
Aaron is really dumb. And that came from like literally every time we, like, there's always that like dumb thing when we're ordering pizza, like, wouldn't it be funny if we ordered a margarita pizza? Like, that's a real, we always do that. Oh man, that's a real thing. Yeah.
So is that like a Mexican pizza, or is that like... I hope it doesn't have olives on it. But yeah,
that's funny. I like that.
Salt on the crust.
The thing when people say dumb joke, obviously there's like dumb jokes, but then there's like, you know, like people love laughing at the that's what's so funny about it is it's dumb. It doesn't mean it's bad, right. You know, like there's dumb jokes and then there's dumb jokes, like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
dude, dumb jokes are my favorite thing. They're half of my act.
Playing dumb is so much funnier to me sometimes than like, you know, or like it makes me laugh more than like intellectual jokes. Yeah. It's just so much silliness is at least as funny as any clever comedy. They're both great in their own ways, but I love silly comedy. Like, it's great.
That's like Nate Bargatze is a monster, and like half of his stuff is just like, yeah, so I didn't get it. Like that, like half of his stuff is just like, yeah, so I don't know how to add or whatever. Like I'm not an impressionist.
Yeah. You're not
wrong. We get what you mean.
Yeah.
But like so I'm with that.
Yeah, his bit on global warming is like that. It's filled with just like, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's just filled with.
I think I am.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just like filled with little dumb jokes in there, and then the way he rebounds from it, like he'll say the line and then just be like, "I don't," and then like pause for a second and then continue his like thought. I don't know. A lot of his comedy, like he just admits that he's dumb, and then a lot of his jokes come from that.
Right.
And it's acceptable to tell the dumb jokes to the audience. Like you've planted that seed and you're expecting them. And you'd be almost disappointed if he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
As a comic, I have to make sure that I don't mix like jokes where it comes from an intellectual place versus the jokes that I have that are like, hey, I'm an idiot, because obviously there's an inconsistency there. So you either keep them completely separated or you somehow, I don't know, you can't really, it's hard to put them in the same set.
Yeah, I could see that. Unless you're literally like, I know I sound really smart in that one, but listen to this.
You're right.
You ever put shampoo on a toothbrush or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, so the dry wedding, the first miracle, the Jesus turning water into wine, it has been done,
right?
But like Steve was saying, you know, you do it in a really authentic way, and you can use like what would Jesus do as, I mean, a punchline for literally anything that anyone's doing at some point, and that, you know, that communicates that you're down to have a good time. I don't know, it's a very likable joke. Like it continues to the narrative that I'm one of the good ones.
I appreciate that, man.
And then the last thing we already kind of talked about, the he got hammered. That comes up later in the story. That's one of those like unexpected twists in your bit, because you're even though you're not taking yourself so seriously, that's kind of like they don't expect that line.
Yeah.
And it got obviously a big laugh. And then when did the tag come into play? Don't worry, guys, he came back.
Just because the reaction, no matter what, is always like, haha, but oh. Yeah. Like, that's the whole thing. Why are you getting, so just like feeling that tension. I think I did it maybe one time without that. And then just feeling that like, ooh, thing in the room. Like, did you read the rest? He's fine.
Yeah.
He's living forever. And you can too, for a low price. $12.99 a month. That's kind of funny, actually.
Who's the guy that sells holy water, like packets of holy water on late night Fox News? Are either of you guys familiar?
No.
Like he sends in holy water from like Lourdes, France or whatever, like in ketchup packets.
What?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
So weird. But I feel like, it's one of those, you get this free holy water, but you got to donate to my televangelist. Like, yeah.
Video or non-video people, I rolled my eyes really hard is what just happened.
That was that noise. That was actually his eyes rolling.
That happens every time. That's actually I can't keep it inside when I have to roll my eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the bad ones.
It makes it really hard to talk on the phone with my mom. She's like, Zach, you staying out of trouble? I'm like, yeah, Mom. Just one, keeping it at one. That's all that matters.
That's an interesting line to take too. The televangelist angle. Like you can communicate with one of the good ones by punching down on those guys.
Honestly, yeah, because those. Yeah, no thanks.
It's punching up. It's punching up.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm not going to pass around a collection plate or anything. Like I'm not one of those.
I did used to have a joke about that. I did. Shoot, it was like, yeah, I'm a Christian comic, so I'll be passing around a collection plate halfway through my set. It was like, that was the exact laugh it got. It was like, huh.
Oh, that's good though. It is good.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I got rid of it. But
I think it's pretty funny that was the whole reason like those sects of Christianity broke away from Catholicism was because they were charging people for forgiveness. Yeah. And now you give us money and you'll be saved. You'll be part of the community. It's like, that's the thing that you guys started. Like do you not remember the theses? Like,
it's so dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a dude that nailed this to a door. Did you? Yeah. I don't know. What you going to do? Bunch of hypocrites, all of them. Cancel me, Christians. I dare you.
Forgot about Martin Luther and Martin Luther King.
Dang, for real though.
So let's move on to the next bit. Take it away.
So now this is true. I'm actually a probation officer. Yikes. Okay, one person groaned. I'll see you on Tuesday. That is true. I'm a Christian and a probation officer, so I guess I just love telling people how to live their life. I thought, how can I make judging a profession? I went and did it. That's pretty cool. You guys are like, oh yeah, you guys do stuff. That's it. No one ever believes I'm a probation officer because I have a very childlike quality about me. It just looks like someone would ask me like, Zach, what's your favorite part of going to court? I'd be like, I don't know, recess?
Remember we were talking about dumb jokes?
Yeah.
But they love them, so no argument there.
Right.
Boom.
Delivery is everything, though. I don't know. Recess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost, if you deliver a dumb joke in a silly way, it makes it funnier. Like if you were to do that, how you've been doing the rest of your set, I feel like it wouldn't have landed the same way. It would have gotten laughs because it's funny, but
I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, it's. I think I don't know. It feels like Mulaney. Like I just straight up stole that from him. But that's they say steal like an artist.
Yeah. And it's not one of his jokes. It's just a little
just his that's who I was channeling though when I did it the first time. I was like, how would I don't know, just because I love him.
We all do that because comedy is not in a vacuum, and it's like I've done that so many times. I still do, and it's like, but it's always just like it's weird. You can't trademark body language or a way you deliver something. It's not like you've stolen intellectual property. It's a way to deliver a joke, and there's only so many ways you can do it. Not to make it not like a rigid thing, but it's
Well, thank you for clearing me of guilt from that.
Yeah, I know, right?
I appreciate it.
This is confession, and I feel like that the probation officer thing, it's I found a way to make judging a profession. That's very funny because it goes back to the opening bit about the heaven-bound singers. It's kind of that thread is connected at the end because that's your last religion-based joke in the set,
right?
And I love callbacks. I almost love subtle callbacks more. And I don't know if you intended to do that or if now I'm the first, but I mean,
Kinda.
you open, I mean, just like the only God can judge, that you take that criticism of Christianity and then you bring it back at the end and it's great.
Thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, definitely there's a reason it's in that order. Like that's my like go-to whatever. Like if you ask me to do like a 5, like right now, I would be like, okay. Like I would do that. But the reason it is that is because like it is like a weird thing to bring up. So I try to push it towards the end when people like are comfortable with me. And also like, because I can do that callback, like, so I can set up that I'm the character of like fun, goofy Christian guy.
Right.
And then like, yeah. So like you said, like a subtle callback is exactly it.
Yeah. And you do establish that character too. Like, I don't take myself so seriously. Like I mean, it's kind of through all of your bits through, I mean, you have a bit that we skipped about, you know, your mom and like
I do talk about her so much.
Yeah.
Love her a lot. Linda, if you're listening, big fan.
You love her that much if you call her Linda?
I just think it's always hilarious to call my parents by their names.
Right, I do it too.
Me too. I worked at a restaurant when I was in college, and there was this like little spoiled entitled. She was like 8 years old, and she called her parents by their first name and like ordered for the table. It was one of the most baffling.
A round of chicken fingers for everybody.
Bill's gonna have the Caesar.
I would call my mom by her middle name if I knew it. But
wow.
You can't laugh at that.
Something I'm trying to figure out now is like, so I'm no longer working there. So I'm trying to figure out like how to talk about that, especially because like I didn't leave on bad terms. Like I still really loved that job and thought it was valuable. And I thought like, you know, my whole goal doing it is I wanted to keep people out of the justice system because it is messed up, you know, and it's like impossible to see that it's not messed up. And I'm very well versed in it, having a master's in criminal justice and being in it for years and years. So that was my whole reason doing it. So I'm trying to figure out how to say all of that funny.
Exactly. Being, you know, a Christian and getting on stage and doing that material, you know, the inverse is often true when it comes to comedians where, you know, people are just bashing on religion.
Sure.
Did that ever like, did that ever put a bad taste in your mouth?
No, just because like, I don't know. I feel like I get it. Like all of the criticisms people have about it, like, yeah, like a lot of that is founded, like it's founded on a real thing. And I get it. And that's like something that I had to do when I came to college was like, I had to kind of come to grips with like, man, a lot of this stuff is, and there's a lot of like weird history where Christian people do messed up stuff. So I did have to come to terms with that. So like any other time when people have issues, I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's weird if you don't have issues with it. So no, I never feel that way. I don't know. I think it's just like that empathy thing of like, I get it. I have questions too, but we just ended up on different sides of the fence.
There's a duality to it for sure. You know, It's like, I think you're doing the right thing for sure. Cause you got the right middle ground of like, you're staying true to your faith, but you're also just acknowledging all that you're being honest and, like outspoken about it, but also just, you know, you're living your life the way you want to. And,
yeah. Thanks, man. Yeah. Appreciate that, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, you know, you have to have empathy, you know, you have to see where other people are coming from. And going back to the Seinfeld analogy, like you've become
famously empathetic Jerry Seinfeld.
Kramer, 100% listened to everything everyone said and did. Yeah. But, you know, just being that audience member, just seeing the comedy for the comedy and like, you know, the characters in the show don't realize that what they're doing is funny. And it's, you know, you find a lot of that. People get married to whatever religious belief, whether it's a faith or a political ideology or,
sorry, I rolled my eyes again.
Yeah. You don't have to narrate it anymore. We're already familiar. We've already established the sound effect. But the whole like I have this belief and it's never wrong is the most.
You're for sure wrong then.
Yeah.
If you think you're never wrong, you are for sure wrong. I don't care what. Yeah. Like I tweeted this a couple of days ago. Like if you make a Facebook comment in all caps, you're incorrect. No matter what the issue is, you're wrong.
You're a part of the problem.
Yeah. Kind of.
How most of those comments end.
Honestly. And as a white man, I know about being part of the problem.
Yeah. I just woke up as part of the problem. But I mean, it's that.
I mean, we're all trying to be woke, but yes, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. I like being wrong because that means I've learned something, you know. I'm never going to stop learning. And there's this idea that it's just like, nope, this is the belief. This is the way it is. And I think that's where a lot of religions met their first opposition. It's like, nothing is final. I mean, we discovered the fact that the earth isn't the center of the universe and people died for that.
Yeah. That's so dumb.
Dumb.
Yeah, man. Like, I think like, I don't know the quote exactly, but like the sign of intelligence is like being able to like hold and consider a belief that you don't have. And oh boy, yeah, that's something like that. But like basically like that is what being intelligent is like being able to like consider something that even though you don't believe it, like you could see why someone would think that.
You have to have a level of understanding about the way other people think because people live in different circumstances. I know this is I could unpack that and I don't want to, honestly. It's just so much talking and then it just turns into, but.
Yeah. Who are we? Joe Rogan?
I know, right? Oh man.
I haven't smoked weed yet. So it's
Well, I appreciate you for not, because I don't know if you listen, but I know some people. So
yeah. I've listened to a few episodes. If he has like an interesting guest on, like I was really interested in the Andrew Yang episode, and that's what really like turned me on to Andrew Yang.
Yeah. I don't know much about him, but he seems cool.
Yeah, he's got a podcast. He's got a podcast episode with Mark Cuban, which is really a really insightful perspective on like a podcast episode with Mark Cuban, where they talk about like the current situation and what both of them would have done if they were in charge. And it's like, wow, why couldn't you have run in 2016, Mark Cuban?
Yeah, if we're going to take a billionaire, we might as well take a competent one.
Right.
I like Mark Cuban, at least on the face value. I mean, obviously, I watch him through the media, but he seems like an intelligent guy, and he seems like he wants what's best for people. I mean, it might seem a little contradictory that he's a billionaire in some senses based on people's opinions of billionaires, but I mean, way better than Trump for sure. Yeah, but
the big difference. This is taking a turn. I just want to say this, and then we'll move on to the next clip. He's one that invests in small business, whereas the current president puts them out of business.
Right,
his whole career.
Them.
That's the difference between The Apprentice and Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One fires people, and the other one invests in them.
Yeah.
Like God.
Yeah. Wow. That's good.
Who would you rather have running your company or your country? And that also has some religious undertones too. I mean, this one guy claiming to be for the Christian.
Sorry, that one was unintentional. I'm sorry.
If you roll your eyes and it sounds like that, you have pink eye. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, sorry, it was an ice move. I mean, I just think it's so ironic. Just why are we embracing this dude that has exemplified the opposite teaching, but says says one thing, does another, and then you've got other people that are doing the thing that are being bastardized.
The two-party system is evil, is how I feel. But
yeah, there's no such thing as good or evil. Everything exists in gray. So like to give it that dichotomy is just so limiting.
So dumb. Anyways.
That goes back to judgment-based thinking too. Like, oh, this is either right or wrong or good or bad. It's neither of those things. It's, it's part of a bigger picture.
It's a continuum.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. I think, people say like a lot of stuff in the Bible conflicts. which again, I see. But like even the thing with like alcohol, like there is a tension to it of like, yeah, like, don't be a drunken idiot, but like you can have alcohol and not like nuance is so much a part of, like the more I learn about just Christianity, the more I learn everything has a balance, like between like, okay, so like, can I just sin and do whatever I want because God loves me? Or do I have to follow all the rules and make sure I, cross all my T's and dot my I's? It's like both, but also neither. You know what I mean? Like the more and more I learn about it, it's like, it's both the things. Like you have to hold both of them, and the tension of like you figuring it out. Like that's the juice. Like that's life. Like that's where that's where
I feel like Christianity in a lot of ways is about being measured too, because alcohol is a slippery slope. And that's why it's, you warn against alcoholism, but alcohol itself isn't so bad as so much as your decisions that you make with it are, So
yeah, 10 million%. Look at us. A couple of white guys figured it out.
Yep. Breaking news. We did it again.
We're just so good at this.
Speaking of white guys and being woke, let's move on to the next clip, which is from Go Bananas.
Yes.
And I think based off of that, you get the context of what we're about to talk about. So hit that play button.
I have a lot of Christian friends. My best friend is black. Hold your applause. It's real cool. Yeah, I won't have to go to sleep tonight because I'm like so woke. But so my best friend, he was trying to tell me that he thinks that Jesus is black, which like I don't know if that's true, but it kind of makes sense because I've been waiting on him for a while. Like, it's been like 2,000 years, man. Like, come on, That and he died for something he didn't do. Like, what's more black than that? You guys remember when I said I was woke?
I love that joke.
It's so stressful. It's so stressful to tell.
I can see that.
Oh man, because it either murders or it's like, oh boy. The one save that I've come up with it is literally just being like, oh boy, it's fun when people laugh at that, because when they do not, it is weird. And like that is smooth the tension more times than not. But yeah, that is even just now we were talking about cortisol. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I told that joke one time in an all black church, and my best friend who came up with me, he drove like an hour to see me tell that joke in front of an all black church.
Damn.
And just people like literally fell out of their seats. It was the best moment of my life.
That's great. That's great.
Oof.
You know, you could almost,
line. Yeah.
One thing you could do, I mean, you don't have to do this obviously, but in terms of, you know how you're like, I don't know if this is going to work. You almost, if you have any other jokes that could go before it that are like testing the waters a little bit easier, but kind of tell you what their reaction might be to what follows up with that. Right. That could work out, but you know, do whatever you feel is right, obviously.
Yeah. I'll have to figure that out, what those are. Like usually people will laugh at the, what is it? I don't have to wake up because I'm woke or whatever, but I have not done that joke in a while. I mean, especially partly because of pandemic, but also it is too true right now. You know, it feels very real. So, especially like the last tag in it. Like I wrote that in 2018. So, I mean, things were a little bit different then. It wasn't like as much in your face, and people were probably marginally aware of the issue, but not as much. Yeah, I haven't done that one in a while. I don't know if I'll bring it back. I might, just when things aren't so tense. It's weird because it is like, obviously like that is, as someone who's familiar with the criminal justice system, like, yeah, like black people killed by police is insane. Like how just the disparity between races is bonkers. So I want to be like pushing that ball forward of like, how can we like help change things? But also, when's the time to make a goofy joke about it? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of those jokes that can give perspective to somebody who either isn't aware of the problem or is on the other side of the problem. Because now like Jesus was killed by the police.
Yeah.
Technically. So
Right.
for something he didn't do. So I mean, that's one of those, you're making a point without saying those exact words to like
Right.
being explicit about it. It's a very implied bit. And I mean that laugh break. I mean, that was, you had to take a minute and wait for the room to calm down. I mean, it's a really good joke.
Thanks, man. It's very fun when it goes great. I've told it when it doesn't. But yeah, it's one of those, like, it is very stressful to tell.
Yeah. I almost like when my jokes that are edgy like that don't work, because it almost like confirms my bias about people. Like, the reason I'm telling this joke is that, like, I'm trying to make a point. You're the people I'm trying to connect it to.
Right. You're the people that need to hear this.
Yeah. At the same time, it's a personal message to myself. Like, I need to make this joke a little bit tighter or find a way to connect it to that. To people. So I'm, like we were talking about earlier, like constantly working on material to, make sure it connects with audiences. Cause that's the number one goal as a comedian, is you have to connect with the audience.
Right. Yeah. 10 million %. Yeah. And that is what some people have told me about, like the first line, like the, Jesus being late or whatever. Like, I've been waiting on him for a while. I've been in all white rooms where they do not like that, because they're like, are we allowed to laugh? But like I said, in the black church, it murdered. There's that weird balance of, like, I don't know, sometimes like people don't know if they're allowed to laugh at it too. So like, I have to like look around if there's like a good mix of people, honestly, to see if I even tell that joke.
I do jokes like that as well, where it's about black people, but it's in a good light, or at least in my circumstance, I tell a joke and black people love it because they're like, yeah, I'm just being honest. And white people are like, am I not allowed to laugh at that? Am I allowed to laugh at that? I don't know. And it's like, just trust me on this. Like, you're being a little too sensitive. Because after all, my point is like you were saying, it's a joke. It's not meant to be literal. It's like you're playing on a stereotype, but you're literally making a joke about the stereotype. You're not saying, hey, this is true.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you have to establish that sarcasm or that the fact that you're satirizing it, because sometimes you go in and out of being just like honest and real with people, and then you go into something that is meant to be satire, and that's where the inconsistency can be misconstrued. So it's weird,
Yeah, man, white people be fragile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and be offended on your behalf. Like, that's selfish in itself, That's like,
for sure.
You're doing it again, white people. You're taking some pictures and you're making it your own.
Am I allowed to say black? I want to say African American. It's like, don't just say black. They love say that it's black. Just say it. It's all right.
Yeah.
Friends, here's a real thing about my life. I have the smallest bladder. What's the odds we could take a pause to pee?
Pee pause? Let's do it.
I'm going to go too, actually. I might as well. So
let's all pee.
Yeah, we're all synced up like women on their period.
Bunch of comics on our periods.
Periods, yeah. Okay, I'll be back.
You can't laugh at that.
This is a subject that we haven't gotten into. We've talked about more of like the religious dogma side of things. But now we're going to talk about religious dating.
Oh, yes.
Are you, do you have a girlfriend now?
I have 4. All
right.
No, I'm kidding. No, I don't. I'm a man about town, going on dates, living life,
Latter Day Saint.
No, I'm not. No, I do think, you pick one and done. So
It's so romantic the way you said that.
yeah, that's. I had a very wise man say to me once, you know, you pick your love and then you love your choice.
Mm.
You know, you just gotta stick with it. Everything I hear about marriage, like whenever I ask someone like, hey, how's marriage? It's like they go dead in the eyes. They're like, it's so good. You're gonna, oh man, it's tough. Oh, it's tough, but it's good. It's good, but it's tough. So tough and good. All those, it's always that. It's
Give
like,
me another
dude,
drink. I'm not getting
Yeah.
a divorce like I'm a Catholic.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm looking forward to it because I want to, you know, I hear sex is cool. But
Jeremy, let's roll that clip and bring it on home.
roll that beautiful bean footage.
So I'm dating a person now, a Christian person, a lady because it has to be, and it's real fun, you know. She was homeschooled, so she's like a stereotype or whatever, and it's real cool. I've been able to like show her all kinds of things she's never seen before, stuff like women wearing pants, and you know, people she's not related to, stuff like that. That's been really cool. I'm going to have dinner with her parents in a couple weeks, so I'll get to sit in on a PTA meeting, so I'm excited about that. That'll be real cool. We actually, we went on a first date recently. We actually did the hottest thing you can do on a Christian first date. Anybody know what that is? Set boundaries. Nailed it. Set boundaries. That is Christian first base. And second base is just being in the same Bible study. Third base is side hugs. And fourth base is just 17 kids. There's no in between. It's great. We had a lot of talk about, you know, like, hey, what's your favorite Kirk Cameron movie? It was great. And the best part was I didn't even have to walk her home at the end because her parents were there the whole time. All right. Thank you guys so much. I'm Zach Wycuff. You guys are great.
You can't laugh at that.
So let's talk dating.
Yes.
So you took the trope, the bases trope, and you made it your own, which, you know, that's one thing that we talk about on this podcast is how you can take like a cliche joke and make it your own and make it fresh and make it interesting again. And like extreme Christian baseball. Like, I mean, that's third base side hugs. That's funny. I mean, they're all like funny lines, but then the last one,
right?
And also, did you mean to call it fourth base?
So many people. So many people have brought that up. I don't know why I say fourth. I know base. I watch sports. I get it. I don't know why I say fourth base.
It's just funnier too. Like, why say home plate when you can, or home run or whatever, like a run when you can just say fourth base and make it a little bit funnier, you know? So
you're right.
Or like you're adding bases because you don't want to get to home. Like, it's like you're kind of dragging it on maybe, or like, not ready yet. Like that kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean?
That's really funny. Yeah. Yeah, I will keep the fourth base thing because, you know, you guys don't own me. But it was not intentional. No, that's just me being an idiot.
Yeah. And if you really want to like keep going, you do like fifth base and sixth base and seventh. Basically,
that's funny.
These are commandments. Is like
yeah, I could expand on the baseball analogy a little bit. Like sometimes you can't do it all your own. You got to artificially inseminate, call in a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
That's funny, but I love the jump to 17 kids because that's again another like religious trope is like, oh, you have all these kids because you can only have sex for the purpose of reproduction.
It's so true, man. Like, yeah, you graduate, you get married at 22, you have your first kid 3 years later, if that, and you just keep pumping them out until your body says you're done. That seems to be.
What an unsatisfying, like, to me, that's more of a sin is to have a connection with somebody and then take this like intimate experience that you can really connect on a deeper level with another human being and turn it into like baby factory. Like, I'm only doing this to put a kid in you.
Right.
I want my name to live on.
Honestly, I mean, the Bible is very pro sex. Like there's a whole book about it. Song of Solomon. That's Solomon just being a little horn dog. It's like your breasts are twin fawns. What does that mean? You have the you have the teeth of a goat. I don't know.
That's hot.
Yeah.
I love when you chew leaves.
Chew up this light bulb. It'll do something. Yeah.
We used to joke about the Song of Solomon in school as kids. Like we just die laughing the whole time.
He's talking about boobies.
Yeah. Mounds, I think he used in that. But you're totally right. When did it become this transactional thing? When did sex become this transactional thing, like on a religious level? Who did that? Somebody who didn't either A, care about the well-being of the woman, the ladygasm, or someone who, I don't know, just wasn't good in bed. They were like, no, you can only have sex to have kids. Otherwise, it's a sin. So that's that.
Yeah, the Ben Shapiro of the day.
Yeah. Definitely had a hand in a few chapters of the Bible, for sure.
But not hands on any ladies. Am I right? What's up? High five. High five. All right.
I'm here for that. How would you describe dating with your belief system? Like, because I mean, to me, I'm curious because I mean, to me, obviously growing up Catholic, there's no.
Sure. Yeah, dude. Definitely like just like the people say like evangelical. I don't know if I like define myself as that, but just because it has so many negative connotations, but like definitely like the evangelical way to do it is, you marry somewhere either right out of high school or right out of college now. And if you're past the age of that and you didn't get married, I'm sorry you didn't pray hard enough to find a spouse or whatever. So like definitely like being single and in your mid-20s as a Christian person is weird. It's weird, dude. The church has just not found a good way to like talk to like single people. Cause like, that's like a whole thing too. Paul was like, being single's chill, y'all. Like you can do it. It's fine. I mean, obviously I do want to get married at some point just cause I like touching ladies with my mouth on their mouth. So I want to do more of that. But yeah, it's always like the thing too of like, if you go on a date, then it's like, when's the ring coming? Probably within less than a year. So yeah, the ring by spring, you've probably heard that. That's a thing at Christian colleges. It's like kind of a joke, but also not. Like at like Christian colleges, like you got a lockdown. It's like, yeah, man, it's like, there's just something about like, you got to find a Christian broad to carry on the faith with. It's like you're fishing from a pond that's about to run out. One of those pay lakes. It's
pay lakes.
So, yeah. And that, by the way, the set boundaries on a first date, that did come from a real thing. That really happened. Like, I was like, we're like, all right, so obviously we like each other. We're only going to stay vertical when we're hanging out. You can't go horizontal. I think that's just wise. Butts are okay, boobs are not. Like, it's just like that whole setting boundaries thing. Like, that is real. And I remember when that happened, like as we were doing it, I was like, this is hilarious. Does anybody else do this? Like, probably not. So I didn't know how else to do it other than just like, I had played around with the idea of like the bases thing for a long time. I think before it was talking about when I was like in the marching band, talking about like the marching band bases, but really like that wasn't even right because like there's the whole like sexually active band kids, like that's a thing. That was not me. So it came from a bit that failed. And I just kind of repurposed it into this thing. You
say you perform in front of churches.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do that bit in different congregations?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. They do like this one.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that's like a little, what I've learned is a lot of my stuff is like for normal comedy, for like normal stand-up in like a club or whatever, squeaky clean. But in a church, some of this stuff is kind of edgy. I learned that the hard way. There's this comedian, Michael Jr., who is a Christian comedian, who is very funny. I got to open for him at Crossroads, which is like the big mega church or whatever that I worked for. And it was like a 3,000 person auditorium, which is crazy. Like, who gets to do that? It was awesome. But like, I did the Black Jesus joke, and oh boy, just the tension of it was really weird, and I don't know if I like again fully recovered from that. But the one thing I remember is as I was walking out, I was like kind of like defeated, like, oh man, that was like stressful. There was an older black man who just looked at me from like across the atrium. We locked eyes, and he went,
nice. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Give me a little nod and a thumbs up. It was pure.
It feels like there might be some intersectionality of political views there too, where you got a big church and a lot of those people are conservative, let's face it. And then it's one of those things where, it's just a little bit, I was going to say, man, you could make so much money touring churches,
right.
But you're right, though. You are a little bit edgy in that respect, too. But it's like, I don't know. But yeah, it's quality. It's like, yeah.
There are some comedians that I know that like do both clubs and churches. And I think that's like, if I do like tour or whatever, like I probably would do that. Like I would probably stick to the clubs and prefer clubs. But I mean, say what you will about church gigs, they got money. And also, remember what I said about covered dishes. Like,
right.
They'll feed you. They'll feed you. So I'll do both. I think I would like to do both. There's this comedian. Oh boy. He was canceled, whatever, came back, John Christ. But he was a guy who, before all that, like I, looked up to as like someone who did do both of those things and did it well, from what I could tell. Fun thing, I learned I was supposed to open for him at the Comedy Attic in Bloomington. And then the day that news came out was the day they told me I would be hosting for him.
Oh,
so they're like, oh, hey, by the way, this show is canceled. And so is John.
What did he do?
Oh, just be creepy. Like use tickets to like draw girls back to his hotel room and do everything except have sex so he could stay a virgin. Yeah. Isn't that messed up?
Wow. I didn't expect that story to take that turn at the end.
I know. This stuff runs deep.
Butts are fine. Boobs are not.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Christening.
You crossed the line.
So I noticed this with all your jokes. You have like a lead in joke that kind of, I don't know, like for the woke one for the Black Jesus.
Yeah. You're right.
Probation officer one. You love telling people how to live their life. You just have like these soft lead in jokes that like let people know this is a new bit without saying this is a new bit. And you do that really well, like
thanks, man.
Somebody, a lady, because she has to be. Like that's such a good way to bring it in. And then the homeschool bit, again, we've seen so many comics talk about like being homeschooled and then dating,
right?
Like, and then it's like, oh, this is an incest joke. Like we've seen that before. So the way that you present it and like showing her new things, like women who wear pants. I mean, you could do a list of like.
There's more too.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I've written more. I don't know if I do more.
Yeah.
I've done them. One of them is a science book not written by Ken Ham.
Yeah.
There's probably some others. I don't know. That PTA thing I think is so funny, but I can't make it work. I can't make it like punch. It's like people are like, haha, okay.
Yeah.
I think the PTA thing is hilarious, but it just doesn't.
I thought it was really good. I laughed. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, well, thank you. But
yeah.
Yeah, you're not most audiences.
I take that as a compliment. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I see that as like not the peak of a joke. Like if you imagine a joke as like a peak, like you have different jokes that lead you to the big punchline, and then you've got a couple tags to kind of bring the audience back down.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good. It might not be the peak joke, but it's the way you haven't looked at it before, and then you bring it back at the end with her parents didn't leave the whole time. Like,
Yeah. That's a good insight, though. I didn't realize I do that. Like when I'm doing a setup, I feel like I have to have like a quick punch, just so I don't know. I think that's just because I'm like terrified of silence or whatever. So that's probably more. That is my insecurity coming out in punchlines, which is
you're not the only one.
which is what we do.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a good insight. I didn't realize I did that, but you're right.
I mean,
totally
every bit we talked about has been, there's always been like that big punch, and then you have a couple tags, and then we're moving on to the next bit of this. You do that. You structure it really well. I'm surprised that you didn't realize. It seems measured.
It's all a facade.
Yeah. That almost makes it even better. Don't change anything then. Don't even try. It's all good.
Yeah, when I write out my set list, like I have like all the little lines and like hopefully obviously build to the biggest laugh at the end and milk it until it's dead.
Even then, like a joke is never dead. Like you can bring it back a couple years later and think of a new tag.
Right.
You're performing it from a new angle.
Yeah. So I think I overstructure sometimes because I don't trust myself enough to like riff on stage or whatever. So that's where I think the next like phase of me like leveling up in comedy is like just being more comfortable with that on stage. So like I do love structured jokes. That's what I love the most is like when you can tell something was like well written and someone thought through all the parts of it. Like I love that. But there's just like also some magic of just like being in the room. And like when I get tripped up, like when I bomb or when I feel like I bomb is when I get trying to like remember what the words were that I wrote down. And it's like I'm reading a script rather than just like hanging out with pals. So I'm trying to find that balance.
Yeah, that's a good energy to keep when you're on stage. It's like we're just having a conversation here.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys shut up, but
yeah. What a good comic does is like talks with you. So I mean, even though you're not saying anything as an audience member, like it feels like you're part of the conversation. To call back to your to the Jesus Got Hammered bit. I mean, that being an off the cuff comeback to a heckle. Now it's like a huge laugh is right. I mean, so you're already getting to that next level. Like you already have enough of that comfort. So it's just,
oh, thanks, man. It comes and goes. Yeah. Just like I'm sure you guys know, the confidence comes and goes, but we're working on it.
Too soon.
Zach, thank you for joining us. It's been very insightful. This is a lot of fun.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
It's always nice to get a fresh angle on a topic that's done to death. Christianity, we tend to see the same point of view over and over and over again. Yeah. So it's really
done
nice.
To death and then to life again.
Yes, that's how we're going to close it out. Zach, do you have anything you want to plug? Social media?
Yeah, I am at @Wycuff, WACH_ZYCUFF. Good luck spelling that. If you figure it out, that's how I know you're a real fan.
Yeah.
And not an only fan, which is
yeah.
Well done.
Which brings us back to our Patreon. Check us out, patreon.com/YouCan'tLaughPod, because actually before I close it out with that, Steve, do you have anything else you want to add?
No. I had a good time though, for sure.
It was an honor.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise. Thanks for coming on. And thank you for helping us prove that no matter what, no matter how dark, no matter how light, any topic is, it can be funny, and you can laugh at that. Amen.
Amen.
If you'd like to weigh in on today's topic, follow us on Twitter @YouCan'tLaughPod, or like us on Facebook @YouCan'tLaughAtThat, and tell us how you did laugh at today's topic or how you didn't. This is all about the conversation, is what I'm saying. All right. Bye.
You can't laugh at that.